Have you ever felt like life crashes down on you without warning? Like you wake up one day and, without knowing how, you're fighting battles you never asked for? There are moments when it's not just one isolated problem. It's a deep, silent feeling of carrying too much. Maybe that's where you are right now. On the outside, you're still functioning. You're still smiling. You're still showing up. You're still doing what's expected. But inside, there's a kind of exhaustion you no longer know how to explain. Because there are days when the voices around you, and even worse, the voices inside your own mind, repeat the same lie over and over again. You're not going to get out of this. There's no hope for you. God doesn't hear you anymore. It hurts to admit it, but that sentence has lodged itself in the hearts of many. It becomes an echo that steals strength, steals peace, steals identity. Sometimes you don't even need a visible enemy. All it takes is your own mind turning against you for you to feel like you're losing. Maybe lately you've been going to bed with a racing mind, thinking about bills, the future, what broke, what you don't know how to fix. Maybe you felt alone even when surrounded by people. Or maybe you've been carrying guilt, old failures that still whisper that you're not enough. Have you ever prayed and still felt like God was silent? As if heaven were closed and you were trying to open it with empty hands? If any of this resonates with you, listen closely. This message did not reach you by accident. Psalm 3 is not just a beautiful text recited in moments of crisis. It is a spiritual map for those who feel like life has declared war on them. It is a divine code designed for moments when your heart is on the edge of giving up. A key for those who look to the sky and whisper, "Lord, where are you in the middle of this?" And here's what's most powerful. Psalm 3 begins exactly where you are right now, in the place where the soul aches, where fear tries to convince you that you are alone, where circumstances seem bigger than your faith. But here's what few people understand. The power of Psalm 3 is not only in what it says, but in what it awakens inside you. Because this psalm doesn't just describe the problem, it reveals the path to victory. To understand the power of Psalm 3, you first need to look at the heart of the man who wrote it. David was not sitting in a palace writing poetry. He wasn't in a temple surrounded by worship and celebration. No, David wrote this psalm while fleeing from his own son. Picture that. The man who once defeated giants, the warrior admired by all Israel, the king anointed by God, now walking barefoot, head bowed, betrayed by his own blood. The people who once sang his name were now chasing him. His honor, his reputation, his throne, everything was at risk. But the deepest pain wasn't physical danger. It was emotional devastation. Because what wound cuts deeper than one inflicted by someone you love? What betrayal hurts more than the one that comes from someone you trusted? Sometimes life doesn't strike us through strangers. It strikes through those closest to us. Words spoken at home. Attitudes we never expected. Betrayals we never saw coming. David knew that pain. And maybe you do too. Maybe you've lived a season where the battle wasn't outside, but inside. Where the wound didn't come from the world, but from a close heart. Maybe you trusted too much. Loved too deeply. Expected too strongly. And suddenly, what you were leaning on broke. Maybe no army is chasing you, but a memory is. A sentence that marked you. An absence you can't fill. David was at his lowest point when he wrote these words. "Lord, how many are my enemies? Many are saying of me, there is no salvation for him." Not because God had abandoned him, but because that's how it feels when the soul is wounded. Sometimes the loudest enemy is not external, it's internal. That voice that tells you failed, that you don't deserve another chance, that your story is over. But here's where David's life becomes a mirror for yours. Because what defines a child of God is not that they never fall. It's what they do when they hit rock bottom. David didn't deny his pain. He didn't hide behind a spiritual mask. He acknowledged his anguish. But he did not allow that anguish to write the final chapter of his story. And here is where Psalm 3 stops being history and becomes prophecy for you. Because just like David, you may feel surrounded by accusing voices, crushing situations, relentless pressure. But also like David, you can discover that God's protection appears when everything else fails. What David lived physically, you may be living emotionally and spiritually. and what God did for him, he can do for you. Because Psalm 3 is not a memory. It is a living message designed for this exact moment in your life. When David says, "But you, Lord, are a shield around me," he's not using poetic language. He's describing a revelation that only comes when you've reached your limits. Notice this carefully. He doesn't say, "You are a shield in front of me." He doesn't say, "You are my shield when I feel strong." He says, "around me." And that word changes everything. A shield in front of you protects you from what you see, but a shield around you protects you from what you don't even know is threatening you. That is the nature of God. He covers what is visible and what is invisible. He guards the battles you recognize and the ones you don't yet understand. Think about this for a moment. How many times has God protected you without you even realizing it? How many conversations meant to destroy you never reached you? How many spiritual attacks were stopped before they touched your life? How many wrong decisions didn't ruin you because God surrounded you without you knowing? God's shield is not passive. It is alive. It moves. It surrounds you like light. It covers you while you walk. It covers you while you sleep. It covers you when you doubt. It even covers you when you drift. And this matters. God does not stop being your shield just because you feel weak. His protection does not turn off when you fail. It does not disappear when you doubt. It does not shrink when you fall. He is still there, still surrounding you. But the enemy knows he cannot break what God protects. So he attacks where he can, your mind. God doesn't hear you anymore. There's no salvation for you. Everything is lost. Notice something powerful. David doesn't say his enemies were stronger. He says they were louder. That's how the spiritual enemy operates. He doesn't destroy your promise. He tries to destroy your peace. He doesn't erase your destiny. He tries to remove your confidence to walk toward it. That's why God reveals himself as a shield around you. Because the real attack doesn't always come from outside. Sometimes your enemies are internal. Guilt that won't release you. Shame from the past. Fear of the future. Self-sabotage whispering that you don't deserve good things. Comparison making you feel small. David had physical enemies. You may have emotional, mental, spiritual ones. But the principle is the same. God surrounds you so that no external or internal force has the final word over your life. And here's something even deeper. In ancient times, a shield carried the emblem of the king it belonged to. Meaning when David says, "You are a shield around me," he is saying, your identity is my defense. Your name is my protection. Your presence is my honor. People may have tried to damage your name, your worth, your reputation. But it doesn't matter what others say. God's shield carries his seal, not yours. And that seal says, beloved, restored, protected. Imagine this for a moment. Imagine seeing the spiritual realm. You are surrounded by a sphere of golden, living light, impenetrable. Negative words, criticism, anxiety, doubt approach. And they bounce off. They don't enter. They don't touch your heart. They don't steal your peace. Because there is a divine shield holding you. And listen to this with your soul. If you are still standing after everything you've been through, it's not coincidence. It's covering. It's God saying, even when you couldn't see it, I was surrounding you. While you were crying, I was fighting for you. While you were doubting, I was holding you. The enemy tried to surround you with fear. God surrounded you with his presence. The enemy tried to surround you with guilt. God surrounded you with grace. The enemy tried to surround you with attacks. God surrounded you with a shield. And when you understand this, something inside you begins to rise. There's a line in Psalm 3 that many people read quickly, but it contains one of the deepest spiritual secrets in Scripture. David says, I lay down and slept. I woke again because the Lord sustained me. Pause here. David is running, betrayed, emotionally shattered, physically exhausted, surrounded by enemies. And yet, he sleeps. Do you understand what it means to sleep while your world is shaking? It means his trust no longer depended on what he saw, but on who was sustaining him. It means he released control. It means that even though the danger was still there, his heart was no longer ruled by fear, but by faith. Here is the revelation for you. True faith does not always look like shouting or strength or boldness. Sometimes it looks like being able to close your eyes in peace. When was the last time you truly rested? Not just close your eyes, but rested. No racing thoughts at 3 a.m. No checking your phone. No mental battles with the same problems. Many people are exhausted not because they work too much, but because they carry internal wars that never end. The mind never shuts down. The heart never relaxes. The soul never rests. The enemy knows this. That's why one of his favorite attacks is spiritual insomnia. It's not just about sleep. It's about trust. Because a tired heart is a vulnerable heart. David reveals a hidden code. Rest is also an act of faith. When you sleep, you're telling heaven, Lord, I do what I can. The rest is yours. Maybe you've tried to fix everything on your own. Control every detail. Anticipate every problem. But some battles are not won by fighting harder, but by surrendering deeper. Not surrendering in defeat, but in trust. God, I rest because I know you don't. Tonight, that promise is for you. No night is stronger than the God who sustains you. No season of wakefulness is eternal. There's a dawn waiting for you. You will wake up, maybe tired, maybe wounded, but still standing, because God has not let you go. And now that you understand this spiritual map, I want to seal it inside you, because revelation without practice is temporary inspiration, but revelation applied becomes permanent transformation. This is Napoleon Inspires, where faith becomes strength, work becomes strategy, and pain becomes purpose. If this message touched your spirit, do 3 things. Write in the comments, God is my shield. Subscribe to Napoleon Inspires so you don't walk these battles alone. And share this video with someone fighting a war no one sees. Because when you share light, light multiplies. When you declare faith, faith grows. Remember this. This is not the end of your story. It is the chapter where God reminds you who you are. Your best season is not behind you. It is ahead of you. Napoleon Inspires.